Catch me creeping through the cut. All time say I'm dangerous. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Catch me creeping through the cut. All time say I'm dangerous. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Catch me creeping through the cut. All time say I'm dangerous. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Running, jumping, music bumping. Catch me creeping through the cut. Burning from my dust, smoking now I pull it up. I won't stop, so don't confront. Too much about to be a grunt. Watch my back and also front. You drop it off, I pick it up. Catch me creeping through the cut. All time say I'm dangerous. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Catch me creeping through the cut. All time say I'm dangerous. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Running, jumping, music bumping. Catch me creeping through the cut. I'm just trying to stop my dust. All time say I'm dangerous. Nervousness from within you. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Running, jumping, music bumping. Catch me creeping through the cut. I'm just trying to stop my dust. All time say I'm dangerous. Nervousness from within you. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Catch me creeping through the cut. All time say I'm dangerous. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Catch me creeping through the cut. All time say I'm dangerous. Cutting game just like a Ginsu funk inside my evil thoughts. I'm waiting on the money drop. Catch me creeping through the cut.
Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio is set to be arraigned following his arrest in Washington Monday night. Tarrio is suspected of setting fire to a Black Lives Matter banner stolen.
I'm not going to cry about a group of people that don't give a crap about their constituents.
They call themselves Western chauvinists. They're certainly male-dominated.
And this right here shows you the power when we, the right wing, unite.
The leader of the Proud Boys makes a stunning revelation.
I am a Western chauvinist who refuses to apologize for creating the modern world.
Proud Boys stand back and stand by.
Breathe fire like a dragon killing demons. I'ma go hard, yeah, we gotta seize the day. Hellfire raining down upon my back, but like you're gonna bring the heat, we can bury it today. We all been lost, we all been cold. Everyone rise to our brethren code. We got your back, we all been low. Let's all rise to the brethren.
But in no other nation do people enjoy greater freedom, opportunity, and prosperity than here in the United States of America.
USA! 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 USA!
Do you condemn those people? Can you say that right now?
Okay, I can't say that because I think
Why not?
condemn is a very strong word, and I think it's a little bit too strong. Because I'm the head of the organization, and I know exactly what we planned and what we didn't plan, and we did not coordinate to assault the Capitol.
Enrique Tarrio is the Proud Boys' current leader. And over the past 4 years, he's seen the group grow from a few guys in a bar to thousands of members across the United States.
Right now, the most important thing that we have going for us is that we all share the same belief. The belief that we should put America first. America first! America first! Who's street? We're all Proud Boys! We're all Proud Boys!
Technical problem caused by my co-host Barry Ramey that decides that he actually it brought you in. It's okay. Another technical problem that I will blame Barry for. I'm gonna get you off the screen in a second so I could introduce you. If I could, what's going on here? I guess I'll keep you on the screen while I introduce you because for some reason it's not working. Last week, me and Barry attended the Weaponization Watch event where we met a lot of people that were on two sides of the aisle. Either they were weaponized against or they were the people fighting the weaponization. At the head of that was Cynthia Hughes. So a big shout out to Cynthia Hughes. Had a great time, a lot of great networking, a lot of great speakers, especially the person that sung the Pledge of Allegiance. I wonder who that was. I'm kidding. It was me. But enough hubris. So weaponization, as some of you that watch the show, has been the pinnacle of the things that I work on. It's not just the War Boys Studios or any of the other projects. It's a weaponization of the government. And the reason why it is so dear to my heart is because I spent 3 years in solitary confinement and for a crime that I didn't commit. So that does something to you. It reprograms your brain and it refocuses you when it comes to the terrors and the horrors of the tyranny that we saw for the 4 years of Biden when he weaponized the federal government against his political opponents. Now, in some cases, obviously the January 6 cases, conservatives were very sympathetic to the January 6 cause. Some were not. Some were rhinos and didn't care that their fellow countrymen were being put in solitary confinement for not 23 hours and 1 hour out, for 24 hours straight. But there's other people that we didn't see, that didn't get the headlines, that weren't sitting there. They're not the Proud Boys. They're not the Oath Keepers. They're not the J6ers. And there's people like that across the world. And at the Weaponization Watch, we found some of those individuals. One of those individuals will be coming into the studio very, very soon and has a daughter. She's a Cuban mother from here, from Miami. I met her in D.C. And, you know, her story was I was so sympathetic to her story because, you know, my own mother fought for me extensively while I was gone. But today, we have a similar story of weaponization, and I want to kind of go over her story. Please welcome to the show, former councilwoman for the city of Hialeah, Angelica Pacheco. How's it going?
Well, thank you very much. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to share my story on your platform, on your podcast. And if I were to answer truthfully how it's going, it's not going well.
Okay.
I'm very upset. I
heard it in your voice when you first called.
I wake up with that anger and I go to bed with that anger. I'm upset at the system. I feel betrayed by my country. I feel hurt. I feel as if everything that I grew up believing was all a lie. I always believed in the greatness of this country. And I'm not so certain that is true at this very moment, the current state of how things are.
Typically, when you tell somebody that, their answer is, oh, I understand you. I get it. I don't say that to you. I say, good. It's good that you're angry. It's good that you go to sleep with it. It's good that it's on your mind because that's only temporary. And the reason why it's temporary, at least for you right now, I'm saying that feeling, not the effects of it, is because now you do something about it. Now you combat it. Now is the time that you fight. You turn that anger into energy. So, Angie, what I want you to do is tell our audience who you are and how you got in the seat in front of me.
Well, I was born and raised in Hialeah, Florida. I come from a place of great poverty, domestic violence. My father passed away when I was 1 year old, and my mother, she didn't handle that very well. She suffered a Great Depression. I had to be very independent from a young age. I left home when I was 14 years old because there was domestic violence at home, and I was a mother at 15. I managed to get an education, and I spent my life doing everything that we're told to do. Work, go to school, get an education, become a professional. I became a licensed practical nurse by the age of 18. And then I went on and I furthered my education and I became an RN. I'm currently in college right now, and I graduate in August. I get my bachelor's. But when I started becoming familiar with how local government works and how it affects us and the importance of having a say, having input in the decisions that affect our day-to-day lives, I decided I wanted to be part of that. Now, backtracking a little bit, my first interest in politics came when Trump announced that he was running for president.
In 2016.
In 2016.
Or 15.
It was in 15 he announced it.
Yes.
16 was the elections. Prior to that, I was completely oblivious to what was going on in the political world.
You were apolitical before Trump?
Yes, completely.
Okay.
Apolitical. And I have publicly credited Trump with the fact that I became involved in politics. Mm-hmm. So I registered to vote, and I voted for the first time in my life to vote for President Trump in 2016.
How old were you at the time?
I was...
I know you're not supposed to ask a lady that because people could do math, but how old were you when that happened?
I was born in 86, and that was in...
You're 40.
I'm going to be 40.
So about 30.
Yeah, about 30.
That's when the first time you voted.
The first time I voted.
Okay.
And I was very inspired because he was a different candidate. He was a real person, authentic. And that's what, what really moved me. And then after that, I just started becoming interested in everything that has to do with our government. I ran for city council.
What year?
In 2019.
2019.
For the first time.
Okay.
I lost. Then I ran again in 2021. You
lost that one?
I lost that one.
Wow.
I ran again.
You think you'd quit?
In 2022
against
an incumbent. No, I did not win. And I ran again in 2023.
Okay.
And that time I had campaigned so many times and knocked on so many doors, and people knew me to be a perseverant, persistent person who just doesn't quit. That it paid off. People were like, this is what we want. We want someone who doesn't quit, who doesn't give up. And I ran on an anti-incumbent, anti-establishment platform with zero political help, zero establishment money. And I went up against powerful individuals who were backed by the establishment, by members of Congress, senators, who had $500,000 for their campaigns while I only raised $15,000. So I feel very proud of that because I wasn't indebted to anyone else, only to the residents of Hialeah who deposited their trust in me. And I was a very vocal advocate for the residents, for the constituents. I spoke my mind. I opposed items that I felt were not in the best interest of the people of Hialeah. I started inviting people to attend the public meetings, to participate. That didn't sit very well with some members of the establishment.
While you were running, what were you doing? Like what was your regular 9 to 5 or day to day?
Well, while I was running, we had a little farm store. A little drive-through where you buy milk and bread.
Wait, you told me that. Is that the one? I'm a Sahuesero, so I use different addresses in Hialeah than you guys do. Is that the one that's what's the street after 103rd?
53rd.
More north.
Yeah, there's one on right after 103rd. And that wasn't mine.
By HML.
Yeah, mine was the one next to Filer Middle.
Okay.
Filer Middle School.
Okay, so you owned at the time when you were running for office.
Yes, and we also had a very small substance abuse treatment center that helped individuals with addiction. But when
did you start that?
In 2017.
2017.
Yes.
Okay.
So I helped my husband with that, and I helped him with the farm store. Okay. So we were like back and forth between those things. And I was also campaigning full time, because when you're campaigning and you don't have thousands of dollars to send mailers to every home, you have to knock on a lot of doors to get your name.
Off topic. Do farm stores still exist?
They've been dying down a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go through this arc. So you were apolitical, but you're Cuban, so you were kind of conservative at heart, conservative values. In 2015, Trump comes down the golden escalator, and you're like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy. And you continued to be like an upstanding citizen. And in 2019, you're like, you know what? I need to do more, right? I need to get out of this bubble, and I need to make a change. And you ran for office.
Yes.
And you failed 3 times.
Yes.
Before you succeeded once.
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, you guys were business owners.
Yes.
You owned 2 businesses. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And one of those businesses were obviously the farm stores. For those that don't know what farm stores, it's a little drive-through place that you get you used to just get milk and eggs, but they had really good cheese, garlic bread. Cheese bread, and stuff like that. That came out in the 90s, I think, is when they started doing that. We just started going over there because it was like $1. And then you take out a powerful council member.
Yes.
Right? And how did your life go after you're like, well, I got it made. I'm elected to office. I go ahead and I have a drug treatment center. I have the farm stores. So how did your life go after 2023?
Well, we had discontinued operating the drug treatment center by the time I was elected to public office.
Okay.
Because it's very difficult and time consuming. It's just something that, it was taking up all of our time, and I wanted to dedicate myself to public service and other endeavors. I actually I had a full-time job. I was working as a nurse for Humana, for a healthcare company.
Okay.
And I was.
Oh, that's right. That's another achievement.
Yes.
You were an RN.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Registered nurse. So I was working full time and also working as a council member, attending to the constituents. Just a regular working class person. People think business owners have a lot of money, and you really just it's the same as being self-employed.
Okay.
Most small businesses don't.
Okay, but let's get into the weeds of this. So we got a little bit of background on who you were and what you did and your accomplishments. You want to add something?
Oh, I'm also a mom of 5.
Oh, you're 5?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ.
Yes, I have between ages 10 and 24.
Wow. Holy crap, 5. Shit. Okay, well, that's another that's probably your best accomplishment.
Yes,
dealing with 5 kids is a good accomplishment.
Yes, they say the most dangerous hood you'll ever go through is parenthood.
Yes, that is correct. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. After you stir the pot, you become elected. I want to just put a footnote on this so we could go back to it. Who was president at the time that you were elected to office?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Okay. So tell me what happened after that. What's the reason that you reached out?
Well, 7 months after I was elected, and mind you, I did my entire campaign very publicly supporting Trump as well. I supported Trump.
That's where we met.
When our election was stolen.
Mm-hmm. At a conservative event.
Yes, we met at a conservative event. I was very public about my position on who won the 2020 election, what happened. And then even, afterwards, I was in support of Trump running for the presidency again. So 7 months after I was elected, I was indicted. And I was shocked, and I had no idea why. I thought it had to be.
Did they raid your house?
No.
They just called you?
They just called me, and they asked me when did I want to turn myself in.
Okay. And you turned yourself into FBI Miami?
Yes.
Okay. The one in Miramar?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
which is isn't that technically Broward?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they still consider it FBI Miami.
Mm-hmm. They call it FBI Miami. And I looked at the charges, and when I was in the court, when they were reading my charges, I had to flip to the front page to make sure that they gave me the right papers, because nothing that was in there was really had to do anything with me. Mm-hmm. And you see, I was the only person charged. We never did anything illegal, and I have never admitted to that.
Nothing illegal.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. And I will always remain very firm on that. But I was not the business owner. I was not a signer. I was not an employee. I wasn't anything on that business.
But it goes beyond that, right? Like it's just not, because one can be, this is what I always tell people, because people, in my case, they tell me, well, he wasn't there. Well, that's true. And that it's good to repeat that to people. But you could still be charged with a crime without being present or be the owner of it. And look, here's another footnote that we'll leave for later. This administration's cracking down big time on fraud. And when I say this administration, I'm talking about the Trump administration. So fraud charges are extremely, extremely serious when it comes to the Trump administration, right?
Yes.
So you get arrested for fraud and you're like, wait, no, that didn't happen. At any point, did you say, yeah, you know what? You caught me. I'm guilty of this fraud.
No, never at all. From the first moment, most people, from what I've been told, they would immediately retreat, hide under a rock, and not give any statements.
Okay.
I gave a press conference 24 hours after I was indicted, right in front of City Hall. And I also gave an interview on television, a 30-minute interview. I knew immediately I had been targeted. Now, someone might say, how did you know you were targeted? Because I was certain that there was no fraud. Nothing illegal occurred. Had there been fraud, my reaction maybe would have been different. It would have been, you know what? Let me not say anything else. Let me stay quiet. But I knew I was targeted.
It's like in 2013 when I got caught, I was doing something wrong. I didn't think I was doing something super wrong, but I was doing something wrong. So when I got caught, I'm like, damn it. They got me. I did my time. I deserved the time I got. And I did it. This one was different for me, obviously, because I got 22 years for a crime I didn't commit. But that's not here nor there. My audience is tired of hearing my shit. And I don't know why they just keep coming back. I'm kidding. Because we got a really good studio. So fast forward. Because then I'm going to go through some of this that I have here.
Oh, and I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
At that press conference where there were about maybe 16, 17 cameras from different news stations there, I said that I was going to fight just as Trump was fighting all of his, weaponized indictments. Mm-hmm. And the prosecution contacted my public defender and threatened me that saying that I was going to fight like Trump was an intimidation that I was trying to.
When was that?
That was in June of 2024.
That was before Trump got elected to office.
Yes.
Correct?
Before Trump got elected.
Who was president at the time?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure.
So they wanted to silence me and they didn't want me to mention Trump anymore.
Okay. With good reason. But, this process is always long and drawn out, right? The biggest pain that you have in a federal indictment is like the not knowing, And in your case specifically, what was the loss amount that they claimed?
They were alleging a loss amount of $19 million. $19
million.
That never existed.
That's a lot of time in jail.
Yes.
That's a lot of time in jail.
Very scary. Mm-hmm. You feel like your life is just collapsing and like the world is coming to an end, I compare what I felt as the feeling of being buried alive and just being covered, and you're trying to scream and no one can hear you.
For stealing, I'm using air quotes for those that are just listening on audio. For stealing $19 million, it's crazy that you're sitting here in front of me, right? Usually people, I'm very keen and aware. I have friends of mine that have done Medicare fraud, and they sentence them to decades in prison for less money, right? Because the way that these cases work is the Medicare fraud is like the base level for sentencing, and then they add time after that for the amount of money that's involved, right? And there's tiers to it, and 19 million is on one of those upper tiers.
Yes.
So you definitely were looking at 10 to 15 years, right? I think. If you were sentenced correctly, and I'll talk about sentencing for white collar crimes towards the end, but you would have gotten a lot of time. And Medicare fraud is not tricky at all, right? It's not like a crime where it's like I came and I robbed somebody with a mask, right? Where we're like, okay, well, how do you know that this defendant is the one with the mask? Well, we got the hair samples, we got the DNA. Well, you could have gotten the DNA somewhere else. You know, there's arguments to be made. With Medicare fraud, those are open and shut cases because there's always black and whites. You know, there's a name attached, there's a document, there's a check that goes to somebody's account. That account, there's money that comes out of that account. It's the easiest crime. I think it's the easiest crime. I think the conviction rate for Medicare fraud is through the roof, right?
It is.
And it's higher. I haven't looked up this stat. Don't quote me on this. I believe Medicare fraud is probably up there. Like we always say that, oh, there's a 98% conviction rate. I think with Medicare fraud, I think we're putting at the 99.7. That's going to be my fair estimate on people that get caught with Medicare fraud and convicted. That's if they don't roll over on their friends and the charges get thrown out. But usually that doesn't happen. They just get a sentence reduction. So if it was so easy it would have been so easy to nab you if they had all this paperwork. But tell me why this case was from 2023.
Well,
you're already sentenced. Tell me why you're still here.
First of all, I want the audience that's listening, that's watching, to understand that this is so much more than just me. This is not self-advocacy. Because my case is closed. I do want justice, but people need to pay attention to what I'm going to say right now.
Okay.
Just because of the egregious violations that were committed against me are violations against our society.
Of course.
Now, this was a business that had been closed for 4 years already when I was indicted.
Okay.
The government, in one of the hearings, mind you, I had a public defender because I couldn't afford an attorney, which is ironic after being accused of stealing $19 million.
Well, hold on a second. Hold
Yes.
on a second. Hold on. Let me put myself on screen here. Angie, but you took $19 million. How do you not have any money left?
Look, what they say
I know.
is such a fabrication. It's a joke. Let me tell you, it's a joke. And I have no respect for that institution.
Of course.
After my very personal experience with them. So in one of those hearings where my public defender wanted to know, where's the evidence of wrongdoing, because they had been unable to find it. They have been searching through all the documents for months. And they told the court, we haven't been able to figure out exactly what she did. You're telling us, an analogy. She killed someone, but you didn't tell us who she killed, when she killed them, with what type of weapon she killed them. So the government said, we don't need to prove that she did it because we're going to prove that she conspired, that she thought about it, that she planned to do it.
The age-old DOJ love affair with conspiracy charges.
And I just found that to be extremely disrespectful, extremely, total disregard for a right to due process for everything. And then later on, after the public defenders could not figure out why I had been charged, they said, the only thing that changed in your life was that you got elected. And after you were elected, they decided to charge you.
7 months.
7 months after I was elected.
Okay.
They filed a motion to dismiss for selective prosecution. And I need the audience to listen to this because this is important. The government only had 2 things that they could reply to that, why I was charged. They said, 1, because she speaks English and the owner of the business, which is her husband, does not speak English. Mind you, in a business in Hialeah where everyone speaks Spanish.
Hold on, but they didn't charge your husband?
No, I was the only person charged.
Only person charged?
Yes, only person charged. I was not an owner. I was not a signer. I wasn't anything in the business. I was just the owner's wife.
Okay.
And the second reason they said that the government, and this is in writing, that they are allowed to select a particular person for prosecution, in part for deterrent effect because of the message it's going to send out to the world. Meaning that because I was an elected official, the indictment would get massive publicity and they would be able to send a greater message out to the world on what happens when someone commits healthcare fraud or any type of crime. Now, that's their argument. I don't agree with it, but the answer that I was expecting to hear is, we charged her because the evidence we have against her is this, and that, and we have proof that she was the one who committed a crime and not anyone else. They never came back with that. They never received an explanation to this date what they based the charges on.
Now, before we get into the actual reason why you're sitting in front of me today, let me give the audience some context here. Miami, the resources for the FBI in Miami and pretty much all the investigative bodies, the resources that are allocated to the Southern District of Florida for Medicare fraud dwarf any other district in the United States, meaning they have a lot of resources, a lot of agents assigned to cases here in South Florida, including prosecutors here in South Florida. There's a whole division on Medicare fraud. And that's always been their focus, right? I see this every day. You can walk into the courtroom today and you could roll the dice and walk into whatever courtroom you want, and they're talking about a case of Medicare fraud. But the prosecutor that the DOJ sent in this case, for some reason, didn't come from the Southern District of Florida. Angie, where did they come from?
From Main Justice out of Washington, D.C.
Why would they send a prosecutor from Washington, D.C. to uncover this massive $19 million fraud here in South Florida when they have all the resources?
Mind you, it was a senior level prosecutor, not just any prosecutor. High level prosecutor. And when I was first indicted and I was shopping around to see if I could somehow figure out how to afford an attorney, which eventually I wasn't able to, every lawyer that looked at my case found it to be very unusual for this prosecution to come out of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Because cases far greater and than mine, where there have been lost amounts of $50 million, $100 million, have been prosecuted.
I've seen it up to
out of
$300 million.
Yes.
Like personal, like people that I know, not just on the news. I've seen $300 million.
Exactly. So it was very, very unusual.
There's a clinic in every corner. There's some type of Medicare place, some medical place in every corner here in Miami, just like most of, obviously, but they're saturated down here.
And then, and to get to a point where people want to know, what happened? What was the outcome of the case?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important parts, because how are you sitting in front of me with $19 million of fraud on a black and white case that should have been open and shut?
All right. We prepared
with
for
a DC
trial.
prosecutor.
Yes, we prepared for trial for 18 months. During those 18 months, the government made no attempt to make any type of plea offer, plea deal, nothing. They were silent. When we were 3 weeks away from trial, the public defenders obtained the grand jury transcript and discovered that federal agents, along with with a prosecutor, it wasn't this one, it was another prosecutor, lied to the grand jury. Not one time, not 2 or 3 times. They said lie after lie after lie, that I was the owner, the signer, the applicant, the person who certified, and they completely omitted the not so minor detail that it was actually, my husband who was the owner and I wasn't anything in the business. So they filed a motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct. The government replied,
which I'm looking at right now, by the way.
Their reply consisted of that for the defense to succeed in a motion for prosecutorial misconduct, we have to prove that they intentionally lied. They are allowed to be negligent. They are allowed to have overlooked that it wasn't my name on any of the corporate records, on any of the documents, on the bank records. They could be sloppy, and that still did not nullify the case, did not invalidate the case. However, we were seeking additional discovery. We wanted to obtain the communications, the documents, the records behind the charging decision. And it is my firm belief, and my defense, the public defenders, also believe that's something that the government really didn't want to open that drawer. They didn't want to talk about that. So they made a plea offer to dismiss the entire 8-count indictment. It was 8 counts.
When was this opposition motion filed?
December of 2025.
Filed?
Yes.
You filed it?
My defense, yes.
The motion to dismiss?
Yes.
In 2025?
Yes.
During the Trump administration?
Yes.
Okay, that's something I didn't know. I thought you filed to dismiss before that. Okay.
No, I filed to dismiss in 2025, and the prosecution, they said, we're going to make you a plea deal.
That's an interesting time.
Yes, a plea offer. We're going to dismiss the whole thing, but you have to plead guilty to something. And now we're going to think of something. And they spoke back and forth with the public defenders. And they said, look, all right, let's charge her with making a false statement and probation only.
Okay.
I initially didn't want to accept it, but I was advised that we're going up, this formidable opponent with unlimited resources who will never admit that they're wrong. They're going to go up there and, tell the jury, the government doesn't lie. The government's always right. We indicted this person because they committed a crime. Juries are unpredictable. And I had a small child. So I said, I have to be a mother before anything else, above everything else. And I have to be there for my son. So I ended up accepting a plea deal where I was only given 2 options, a bad one and a worse one, but not the right option.
Okay. But this charge that we're about to talk about, this wasn't in the original indictment.
No, it was.
You were never charged for it. None of that.
This has to do with a second PPP loan that was not included in the first indictment. Everything in the first indictment went away. Every single thing.
I find it, so let me start with this. And I've been hinting at it for a little bit, but I find it extremely odd that something so easy, because of the paper trail, a crime that's so easy to prove and is proven again and again and again here in the Southern District of Florida and across the country, they would just drop it. Right? So, and then you start looking, if you start with that line of questioning, and then you start looking at the other details in your case, you became elected to office, and just 7 months after is when you're indicted on a federal indictment. It seems like somebody had a target on your back, and suddenly, it becomes, and you had to step down, or you were removed from office.
I was suspended from public office.
You were suspended from public office because those are serious allegations. To have a member, like a person that is elected office, commit fraud, right? So it removed you from office. It removed you from being effective, because I think that's your only crime. Your only crime was being effective. You tried 3 times. You tried 4 times to be elected to office. Out of those 4 times, you failed 3 times, and you kept trying. You're very accomplished, right? You're a registered nurse. You were a business owner. You were elected to office. And in January, you're like, and this part I understand because some January 6ers, they had to plea out, even though they knew they weren't guilty, because going to trial already, just going to trial, federal trial in any jurisdiction in the United States is almost next to impossible. The government has all these tools available and you are limited. It's like sitting at a blackjack table and you gotta pass, you gotta hit or pass, but you can't look at your cards, you know? And the dealer gets to see all his cards. It's not a level playing field. It's not a level playing field. So with that being said, they told you, hey, we can't just let you off the hook.
Just like that.
And we're going to throw out these usually impossible to beat charges. Who was president when that happened?
Trump.
And then this is the last portion. I'm going to let you keep writing, but here's another interesting thing why I said it's such an interesting timing for the dismissal. Nick Shirley. Have you heard of Nick Shirley?
No.
So Nick Shirley is an investigative reporter, right? Young kid, but very, very successful at finding fraud. When his report on the Minnesota daycares came out, the DOJ ramped up its efforts to prosecute fraud. They have a fraud division, and you know who the head of that fraud division is? The Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. Okay, so this, excuse my language here, this administration doesn't fuck around when it comes to fraud. And the fact that during that time, they're like, look at your case, and they're like, and they're trying to get cases to show that they're doing something about fraud. Medicare fraud would be very easy. And they decided to drop your case. Just looking at your case file here, because you know we're also limited on time on the show, or else we'd go into like the nitty gritty of it. Maybe you could come back and we could do that. But that leads me to believe that they had nothing to begin with, and that you were targeted not for the crime, you were targeted because of your position.
Had I committed a crime,
yes,
I should have been feeling beyond blessed with this outcome.
Of course.
This would have been like, Christmas, a Christmas gift that arrived.
Of course.
I am not satisfied with this outcome. Okay. I'm angry, and I don't want that anger to die out. I want this anger to continue to fuel me because I want to get this message out there that what happened to me happens every day to somebody. The Department of Justice, our legal system, is weaponized against citizens every single day.
For political viewpoints, mostly.
Mostly for political viewpoints. It is not a system designed to prosecute a particular crime. It's a system that decides who they want to prosecute, and they can interpret and apply the laws in such a broad way that they can find any reason, excuse, justification to say, I'm going to charge so-and-so with a crime.
Okay.
And that's wrong. That's wrong because the priority is not well-being, the safety. It's not of preserving the integrity of our communities, of our programs. The priority is in exerting this force, this power in the control. And that's wrong. And it needs to be, people need to speak up against it. I want to be that voice. I want to, use this opportunity that I'm a person that I am more known than other individuals that are victims of this to gain attention and traction to what happens. I'm not asking people to take my word for it. I want an investigation. But what happens is you report misconduct to the Office of Professional Responsibility. That's a grave for the complaints. Nothing happens. There's so much immunity. There's so much broad prosecutorial discretion. They can lie. They can break the law. They can do anything, and there's no accountability. And the victims will never be whole. That has to change.
I agree with that.
That has to change because there's real suffering, there's real anguish, there's real financial loss. And people think, that the only victims are the people who were involved in the case, the people who were charged. No, a crime committed against one citizen is a crime committed against all citizens.
Of course.
And I feel betrayed by my country. I feel betrayed because I was supposed to feel safe. If you do the right thing, you follow the rules, the law, you're supposed to have that safety, that peace of mind, that security that you will be okay. And now that's not enough. I realize that's not enough.
Angie, but how much time did you get sentenced to?
3 years of probation with the option to terminate in 1 year.
But hold on a second. The DOJ, correct me if I'm wrong here. How much probation did the DOJ want to give you?
Well, this is very unusual in my case, what happened. Yeah. The DOJ wanted to give me 1 year of probation.
1 year of probation.
1 year of probation.
Okay.
And the judge, she was reluctant to agree to the 1 year because she was concerned about appearing to be disproportionate.
Who was your judge here in this case?
Judge Becerra.
Okay. Here in the Southern District.
And then the prosecutor, which this is not the same prosecutor who handled the indictment, but the prosecutor at the sentencing hearing, he told the judge that he did not agree with giving me more than 1 year of probation because I had already suffered too much. I had lost too much, that there was no personal enrichment.
This wasn't the prosecutor from D.C.?
This was the prosecutor from D.C., but he had a change of heart,
of course,
which was very strange.
Yeah, because somebody above told him, because he was hired to do a job, and somebody above told him, you fucked up.
He had a change of heart, and then he was advocating for me. He told the judge, I lost my elected position, I lost my job, we lost our small business, I suffered too much, and so on, and that I did not deserve more than 1 year of probation. Now, first of all, a prosecutor, to get them to speak in favor of the accused, that's almost unheard of.
It's usually never.
They know very well what they did. I should never have been there. I should never have been put in a position where I had to choose between pleading to, this charge or facing a trial for a bunch of charges it was just unfair having to face, this government, a system that overpowers me. Not fair.
The prosecutors in my case, most of the prosecutors in my case are unemployed. And most of the FBI agents in my case are unemployed. I'm still working on the other ones. I want a 100% streak. I want them all fired. I think I could accomplish that. We're working on it. So now you have 3 years of probation.
Yes.
Okay. Before we get into how to correct this, what's your future looking like? Like, what do you want to do?
I want to be a lawyer. I finish. I get my bachelor's degree in August of this year.
What an overachiever!
And after
you want
that,
to be a nurse. You want to be elected official. You're going to be a lawyer. Jesus Christ!
Studying to take the law school admission test in July.
Okay.
I've already toured several colleges. I want to be an attorney to represent individuals who have had their rights violated.
I think you're going to kick ass.
And I believe that I have that spark in me. It's very personal. It's very personal because I've experienced firsthand, how it feels to have your rights trampled all over.
I'm going to be honest with you. I like the change of tone. When we got on the phone, I think it was like 2 days ago, you were very distraught. You were like, man, this is really, now I feel like a power. I feel like you're finding your center, your chi.
You know why I was distraught?
Mm-hmm.
I was distraught because once you are convicted, people say, well, you were convicted, you must be guilty. Let me tell you something. Being convicted with the way the Department of Justice operates is meaningless.
Of course.
Doesn't mean anything. That doesn't tell me. If you look at the statistics, how many people have been exonerated after pleading guilty because DNA evidence has surfaced that proves they're innocent? They're like, well, they pleaded guilty. Why do you think they did so? They weren't really given a real choice.
Yeah, because you gotta choose, especially in certain circumstances. You got to choose to go away for a long time, or fight a system that it's uneven.
Exactly.
Right? There's no equality. That little every courthouse has it. You know, Lady Liberty with the blinds on, with the two scales. That's a lie. There's literally a dump truck on one side and a feather on the other.
That doesn't exist. That's a fantasy.
We're about the same age, so they had civics. You know, we had civics. We went through civics class. You know, in my adult life, I understand why they took civics off in its capacity and how it was taught, because it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It doesn't exist. This equality also in getting elected doesn't exist. If you've ran a campaign and you kind of understand how campaign finance works, that's all bullshit too, right? You go. This is in my experience. I ran for Congress here against Maria Bida. I jumped out of the race because COVID came in, so it took the power of the main power I had was volunteers, so we couldn't knock on doors. And so I'm like, okay, well, she can't do this. She can't do the same thing. I could do mailers, and then they suddenly attack my credit card processor. I couldn't accept donations, so I dropped out of the race. But you know, you get all these emails, you know, from candidates and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, give $100 to your favorite candidate. You get the emails. People don't know that when you do that, that's like a service. And out of if that person gives you $100, right, out of the kindness of their heart, you as a candidate probably get $15. So it's better to give. That's one thing I'm going to tell you guys now for midterms. Give directly to the candidate. If you see a mailer and it makes you emotionally, like it gives you an emotional pull and you want to do something, go to that candidate's website and go there. Don't click on the email, because they really don't get the money. It goes to the list owner and the person who wrote the email. It's like 50% for the list owner and anywhere from 20 to 25% or up to 30% for the person that put the email together. So we know that everything that we've been taught is a lie.
It is.
You know, and there's this very awesome scene that actually motivated me. I was already involved in politics since 2004. There's this HBO special called Newsroom. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And he's giving a lecture, and they ask him a question: why is America the best country in the world? And he goes, it's not. And it's not because we don't have the best ideas in the world. It's just like, what are we number one in? You know, illiteracy rates, per capita, how many inmates we have per capita. You know, there's so many things that need to get fixed. And like civics class paints you this rosy picture, right? And it's not, you know. There's no country, let me tell you though, there's no country that the system isn't better in some cases. But when it comes to the justice system, like the Swiss have better justice system. Even the UK has a better justice system in a way, although they persecute people for posts. But I'm saying like the process is still better than the United States. So now I feel like you've been wronged, even if you pled out to a lesser crime. How does one correct this? And I have it here. I know the answers to these questions. I'm just asking you. How do we correct what happened to Angie?
One of the first things I want acknowledgement. I want acknowledgement that a crime was committed against me. I want accountability. And I want to have my life back. Mm-hmm. I want to bring attention to our government, the highest level of government, of what happened. I say I would truly want, and it doesn't make me entirely whole, a presidential pardon.
Okay.
But eventually one day I would like for this entire thing to be reversed, and I would like an investigation
into how this came about.
Yes, how this came about. I want people to ask themselves, why did she only get probation? I don't want people to say, oh my gosh, she's so lucky. She got away with a crime. I want people to ask questions. Why did she only get probation? You know, people need to start asking questions when things seem off. Doesn't that seem off to anyone? That someone could get charged with such a serious crime, with such a huge fraud, and end up with only probation? Yeah. Because there was nothing there to begin with. But that probation, that felony conviction on a person who has been able to rise above great adversity. I've been on my own since I was 14 years old. I was a mother at 15. I put myself through school. I survived domestic violence. You know, I spent my entire life climbing a steep mountain. And this is how society rewards me, by throwing me back down to the bottom of the mountain. Now, I'm not a victim. I'm not portraying myself as a victim. I'm a person who has been wronged, and I am fighting to do something about it. For me, for what happened to me, and for all the other victims, and for all the other people who will continue to be victimized. And it's just not fair. They teach us that if we do the right thing, we will be okay. And my case has proven to me that all of that is false. I have spent my whole life believing something that's not true.
Angie, on your front page, on your cover sheet for your clemency, request for executive clemency, it's pretty clear to me that this following statement's true. It says, establishing a clear, documented case of selective and vindictive federal enforcement targeting a grassroots, America First public official. We can get that sentence and we could apply it to somebody that's gone through it too, and specifically gone through it 4 times. And his name is President Donald J. Trump, right? Because I wasn't an elected official, so it wouldn't apply to me technically, but it does apply to our 47th president. In all, this is a clear-cut case where it is selective prosecution. It is the weaponization of government. Just granted all the whole timeline, I charge the United States with conspiracy to defraud the American people in your case and in many other cases, because it's clear that it was during the Biden administration. There wasn't evidence, or else they wouldn't have thrown out the case 7 months after you were elected to office. And the Trump administration, when they came in, an administration that is very laser focused on fraud.
I have to add one more thing.
Go ahead.
In January of 2024, I, along with my former colleague, Brian Calvo, who is now the mayor of Hialeah, while our governor was still in the race, we opened the first campaign office in support of Trump during those primaries.
In 24.
In 24. And that's there. I have, it's the Herald article. I have included it there. And you can see the pictures. If you flip those pages, you will see a picture when we opened that campaign office, and that further put me out there as a pro-Trump elected official, someone who was actively motivating the public that Trump needed our support for the primaries. I told the Herald, and they quoted me, that we did not want to wait to see who would win the primary election, that President Trump needed our support at that time the most, and that is when we were going to provide that support. So we opened up that office for him in support of his campaign to gather volunteers, and we sent mailers out to the residents asking them and reminding them the importance of voting in the primaries. So I think that further put a target on my back during the Biden administration.
Can you do me a favor? I know that you sent me these, and this is a PDF or
PDF.
It's a PDF.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to show you how to put things on Scribd, which is like a public PDF viewer. I want you to put this on there so I could put it in the comments under this so they could read. And this is pretty informative. I read it yesterday in its form. And it just shows you how it kills a narrative that they had against you.
Yes. Oh, even I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Even
I'm here to listen to you.
The Miami Herald, when they wrote the article about my charges being dropped, they said that the government dropped the charges without explanation.
Yeah.
And I can't believe people don't ask themselves, why was there no explanation? There is an explanation, just not one that the government wants to give publicly.
Of course, because then they're opening themselves to a civil suit.
Yes.
Similar to kind of what's happening in our case currently. A lot of people know what's going on there. Hopefully something changes. Hopefully by the time I air this, what's today's date? By the time I air this, we'll have an answer from our judge. And this request for the executive clemency, you have a clemency number already?
I don't have one, but
When did you submit this?
On June 2nd.
June 2nd. Okay, yeah, it takes a little bit.
I sent it to the Office of the Pardon Attorney, to Susie Wiles, and to the Office of the White House Counsel.
You should also send it to Todd Blanche. Because again, I see that this is like clear cut. I won't say I'm a lawyer, but I've become somewhat of like a person that knows how to read legal documents. And again, and I can't say this enough, the fact that like they didn't charge you with Medicare fraud is telling, right? It's because it's so easy to catch somebody.
It is.
And the reason why they didn't do it is because they didn't have the evidence to do it. So Angie, a couple words. If you were able to speak, let's do it in two separate parts. If you were able to speak to the president, and if you were able to speak to the American people, what is your message?
My message is that no matter, what happens, what they do to you, always remain strong. Never allow anyone to take away your voice, your opinion, your way of thinking. Never believe that all is lost or that you cannot defeat the system. It's very, very hard. I haven't been able to do it, but I don't give up and I don't stop trying. One thing that I admire so much about President Trump, everything that was done to him, anyone would have given up, would have quit. And I saw in him a reflection of, how I feel on the inside, that as long as you continue fighting, you haven't lost. And that's what I want to do. I don't just want a pardon. I don't want this to go away. I want to keep sharing my story. I want to keep inspiring others. And I want to see other people fight for their rights. Because we live in what is supposed to be the greatest country in the world. And I want to contribute. I want to be part of fighting for that greatness. Like Trump says, make America great again.
Amen.
That's what I want.
Amen. Angie, thank you for joining me today. I hope to have you on again so we can get into the nitty gritty, and hopefully you could give us an update on this pardon. I'll be pushing for you. We'll put this on the comment section. We'll put her PowerPoint presentation, which is really easy to read. It'll take you less than 2-3 minutes to read, but she breaks down exactly how she was weaponized against. And Angie, I hope U.S. Pardon Attorney Ed Martin gets his hands on your pardon, because I think that you are very deserving of that pardon. And once you get that pardon, like you said, the fight's not over. You want to keep saying stuff. And I encourage you, and I encourage you guys that are watching, to keep helping others, right? Bravery is contagious. It's very contagious. People react to it, and then it's kind of like it goes viral, right? Because the next person, I got activated because I saw somebody do something, right? And a lot of people that have come into this saw something. And in your case, you saw the president. You're like, okay, this is a big change. And he inspired you to be brave and run for office in 2019, in 2020, 2021. I forgot the years, but you catch my drift. Yeah. So Angie, I appreciate you for coming on. Where can people find you? Oh, that's another thing. We talked about you opening a Twitter. Were you able to do that?
I should have it later tonight. Okay. I'm having one of my sons is helping me with the Twitter. I have Facebook, Angelica Pacheco, Instagram. It's Councilwoman Pacheco on Instagram. I mean, you Google me, you'll be able to find lots of info about me, good, bad, all kinds.
You could. You should run for office again.
But I do plan to. I intend to. As soon as I have my rights restored, I will not let this break me.
Yeah, of course.
And like I said, I want people to know one thing. Some people say, I could never do the things that you do because I'm not as brave as you. I'm scared. Just because I move forward and I do the things that I do doesn't mean I'm not afraid.
Of course.
Being courageous is not the lack of fear. It's moving forward despite that fear.
Amen.
And they say, you do the things that scare you and continue doing them until one day they don't scare you anymore.
Yeah.
But that's what we need in order to make a difference. We can either become complacent and accept the things that are done to us, or we can take control of our lives and bring change and be that change that we hope to see. But we just can't sit and wait for it. We have to take action. We have to do something about it. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to have this chance to connect with your audience, to share my story. Because when you said that I was distraught because I wanted to be heard, and I was frustrated because, when you're convicted, you're like, oh, you're guilty of a crime. And I said, no, don't judge me by that conviction, because there's so much more to the story. And that fire that's ignited within me, I don't want it to ever go out. I want to use it to fight and to inspire and to bring change.
Amen.
Yes.
And you're among other people. You're hanging out. When you go to the bar and the cool people actually hang out right outside because they need to smoke a cigarette. You're in this, even though I'm smoking a cigarette, you're in the smokers lounge with the cool kids now. The only reason, look, there's a quote. I won't say by who, but there's a quote that says something along the lines of, like, the only people that they target are the effective ones, right? Like, if you were to put this into a battlefield, right, and there's a machine gunner and his goal is to take out, like, the important people, like, when the regular peons come across the battlefield, nobody really targets them. They target, like, the officers, right? They target, like, the generals, the colonels. Those are the main targets, and those are the people that are dangerous to them. It's not just like the regular, it's the people that inspire the regular people to take charge and to go head first. So to me, that you're a person that you have a target on your back, that means you're doing good. You're working. Thank you for joining me again today, Angie. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for watching. Angie, I'm going to put her Twitter handle up on the tweet that this live that you're watching it on. So you guys can go ahead and follow her and support Angie and support Andrew's mission to not only get a pardon, and I don't even think that's like first in line for her. I think for Angie, it's to get justice and accountability, right? I always say the words retribution, and people always feel like, oh, what does that mean? That's violent. No, it's not violent. Retribution means accountability. Like, you did something, you need a reprisal in order for you to understand not to do it again. So thank you guys for watching. Tune into the War Boys. Go to the War Boys on Twitter and mash the post notification button. And with that, we are out. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Load up on guns and bring your friends. It's fun to lose and to pretend she's overboard and self-assured. Oh no, I know a dirty word. Hello.
Prosecutor said Ethan Nordine was the undisputed leader of the group that day as they tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power.
And FBI agents arrested Proud Boys former national chairman Enrique Tarrio at this home in Miami. By 2 this afternoon, he was in federal court.
Here we are.